Yeah, man. Yeah, there's a lot of niggas don't know nothing about that, bro.
Big facts. I mean, it's a theory, but it's still something like it's a good subject to look into. Like I mean, if anybody interested in collective consciousness, I mean, I'm fairly sure they ran across the 100 monkey experiment. Anybody like, I guess,
I
open to questioning and opening to ask questions and research their own questions.
mhm. Well, we should
But
be.
I mean, I guess you can reiterate kind of like what the experiment was about. Shit.
I mean, basically, the experiment was they they drop either they drop some potatoes
Those
or
potatoes.
they basically, yeah, they basically put some sweet potatoes and put it on this land. And the monkeys at first they didn't want to fuck with it, and then one monkey went to go fuck with it. They all went to go fuck with it, and they realized it was hard. It wasn't they weren't able to eat it. Whatever. So one monkey came up with the idea, or left their no, a monkey left their potato like by some water or whatever, and came back and realized that it was soft. It had gotten a little bit soft, so they realized, this one monkey realized, oh, okay, leaving this by the water, it'll make it soft and it'll make it, able to, eat or whatever. Um, After a while, one monkey was doing it. Now two monkeys are doing it. Then after two monkeys were doing it, the next day, it was 20 monkeys doing it. After the 20 monkeys were doing it, the next day it was 30 monkeys until all 100 monkeys on this island were doing the same shit. That one monkey that wasn't teaching them, wasn't like they were teaching them how to do it, none of that. Started to do it. So,
So the basis behind that experiment was outside of that experiment, simultaneously what was happening on another island was monkeys were learning how to do the same thing. So they were attributing it to collective consciousness.
mm-hmm. We'll speak on that, man. I mean, so okay, because do you think that that's? I want to word this question quite right. Do you think, or do you feel like a lot of other cultures and races have a percentage of collective consciousness? Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense.
Um, collective consciousness is a construct of biology. Anything that's on this plane is connected to itself or connected to each other. Um, Cultures, I get, yeah, I wouldn't say they necessarily would would show collective consciousness. It's more of like kind of like on the first island. I was gonna like that's why it was like imperative that you put the last part in about like another island simultaneously learning the the trait without being in contact with the first island. Because the first island, the 100 monkeys, even though one monkey did it, you know what I'm saying, and didn't teach any of the other monkeys, like the other monkeys could have just watched them do it a bunch of times. So it's like
Yeah.
that's what happens in cultures. Like you see one person does it, makes sense. Somebody else is gonna pick it up, and then if you guys live alongside each other, maybe you teach it, maybe you don't, but it becomes a cultural thing, right? But
Mm-hmm.
what they're attributed like cultural conscious or the experiment was trying to like explain like how multiple cultures in different parts of the world were coming up with the same customs and same ideas at the same time. I mean, honestly, that's really overlooking the fact that like continents were fucking merged at one point in time, and then there were people here for a period of time that was able to like migrate out with the same culture. So those cultures would somewhat change. Like if I'm an artist and I want to build my own village based off of the village I grew up in, you're gonna take some of the code like the customs and shit. They're gonna look a lot like the original coaster, the customs and shit. But at the same time, I'm putting my spin on it. So there are some cultural differences or artistic differences. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like that's what is separating people's consciousness from just going back to oneness. You know, we are all like one people. Like, you know what I'm saying? They already have like genetics that are attributing to, you know, the, the genes of all these different races coming from one set race. So obviously, all of the similarities from these cultures that we see stem from it being a mother culture or a hub culture at one point in time. And so you're going to take whatever your mother teaches you and you're going to take it out into the world, but it's going to change. You're going to change things. You're not going to keep it the same. So, like, just because pyramids may look different on this continent, you know what I'm saying, and they don't look the same as this continent, artistic differences of the same culture, you know what I'm saying, especially over time. Like one culture is younger than another culture, but you still want to you still want to give reverence to the mother culture or the original culture you came from. So in that essence, no, collective consciousness isn't really, you know, it's more in kind of like what you're seeing now, like when people were in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, kind of preaching like black empowerment or unity. Doesn't matter what race. Like black people were kind of like getting black, trying to get black people to think black and restore their history and look into like their environment and start questioning the things around them. Other cultures were like, you know, trying to find forms of enlightenment and through their cultures or their religions and shit like that. The collective consciousness comes when everybody starts realizing the exact same thing, you know, through the inner work. Like you've seen for however many years, people have been putting out lectures, putting out books, putting out blah 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 about the truth, about like what you should see. It wasn't until you had your revelation, you know what I'm saying, your apocalypse come. Like we were already in the revelations in the age of apocalypse. You know what I'm saying? You gotta understand etymology in order to understand what I'm saying. So things are being revealed right now that were once lost and hidden, but all of those things came from people who are not only willing to search, but willing to only like question themselves and question their own beliefs. That all started from you know the internal work, the shadow work, being a black sheep. You know what I mean, and being isolated from those loved ones, so you had time to question your reality, question yourself, and things like that. So the collective consciousness came from those people those people who were born under that star who will be called indigo children, whatever you want to call them, you know, star seeds or whatever. Their mentalities linked up. The collective consciousness started growing. So those people who were once not questioning or didn't even have any interest in the knowledge are now starting to wake up to it. That's what collective consciousness is. It's a reprogramming. It's like every like those soul beings realizing that they aren't separate from everybody else. We are all one, and then that frequency is starting to grab, like starting to like make its way around the world. So collective consciousness is just the frequency of love. Once one loves self, then that frequency starts to like vibrate outward and and people start loving themselves and start treating people outwardly the way they treat themselves, and then it starts to kind of ricochet.
And that's kind of I think that's kind of what we need. You know, we need that type
You said what?
we need. I know I was saying. I think that's what we need. We need collective consciousness. I think we need.
Well, we have it. Collective
Have,
consciousness is collective consciousness is just a state of being, right? But
mm-hmm.
when people are so focused on everything outward, like trying to touch other people or trying to like get people to see the point or see their environment or see the world around them. You know, you're fighting an uphill battle. Like as long as you're aware and you move with love and you don't move out of fear, you're not giving anybody this knowledge based off of fear. You're just making people aware of what's there. That's the energy that's going to change. Like you're not going to change. Like as many years as people have been trying to change the world by physically putting their hands on the world or physically putting their hands in politics or physically trying to do this and that, build institutions and shit like that, the world hasn't changed. The world's only going to physically change when you internally change. And so, like, we're at the point where it's no longer trying to force the outside to learn what you want them to learn. It's like, just embody that shit. You feel me? And then when you're the embodiment of it, then you don't have to teach it no more. Yeah.
What
It's not about being perfect though. Like that's what people like, or being like high and mighty or all righteous, nigga. I'll show you the balance quick. Like I'm both sides. I'm just as heavenly as I am fucking hell, like hellbound, bro. I'll show you hell just as quick as I'll show you heaven. But in that balance also becomes like a knowledge of both sides, like understanding why somebody might be in their worst state or why somebody is seeking their highest state. You know what I mean? Either you go through so much darkness that you actually realize, like, I just want to live my life in the light, or you go through so much darkness that you let that shit corrupt you and you stay there. You feel me?
Yeah.
But all that shit, like, and that comes discernment, bro. That also comes discernment of information. We go through shit in order for like us to like dispense that information, but at the same time, you can only provide the water. You can't make anybody like drink. And I feel like there's a lot of people trying to force motherfuckers. Like, of course, like you love people, so you want them to have this knowledge, and so you're trying to force them to understand, and you can't do that. Bro. Show them that you care about providing the nutrients and the nourishment, and if they don't fucking feed, then you just got to do you. And at the end of the day, maybe how you live your life will influence them to live their life like, in a better way.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's all a balance too, bro.
For the longest time, I've always had
It's-
this podcast lecture that I always wanted to do about, us
uh,
being the light. You know what I'm
You said
saying?
what?
I said I've always had this idea of wanting to do like a podcast sermon, quote unquote,
I mean, so
like do a podcast sermon on
I'm
being the
not trying to
light.
do no fucking sermon, bro. I'm not no preacher, bro.
Not
But
I don't
what I
know.
will
Like,
do is I'll tell the truth. Like,
okay.
if
Okay.
anybody wants the key to enlightenment, it's all about self accountability and acknowledging your faults. Like, if you fucked up, just own up to your faults. You know what I'm saying? Um, be true to yourself. Don't ever bash yourself. Speak high to yourself. I want people who, even the religious people, right? The same way you speak to God, right? You're a reflection of God. So speak to yourself in the same light, and then guarantee you'll walk out. You'll walk out the door with a better perspective on life, regardless of what happens to you. And that's not saying that you're not going to go through shit or your stress is going to like fade from your life. You're always going to go through obstacles. Stress is going to be like a constant in your life. You're just going to be able to maintain a composure and deal with stress better because like I was telling my brother yesterday, like you'll start realizing all stress is the exact same feeling, just in different forms. So you'll have different stressors, but the stress feels the same. You feel me? So you'll start feeling like you'll understand how to deal with stress, regardless of what situation you're in. Or anger feels the same, regardless of what situation or who made you angry. You know what I'm saying? Your heart still fucking pumps the exact same rate, and the anxiety and the pressure still feels the exact same, regardless of how you got angry. So you start realizing it's a pattern and understanding how to deal with your anger differently. You know what I'm saying? So it's about recognizing your patterns, recognizing your cycles, and then trying your hardest to kind of like fix your way around or like, compromise with yourself. Because anger is not going to go anywhere. You're going to get angry. You're not fucking perfect. Nobody's perfect. If you sit there and try to be holier than thou, that's on you. You can fucking stress yourself out trying to be something you're not. But at the end of the day, if I'm angry, I'm gonna allow myself to feel that emotion, and then I'm gonna like check myself so that I'm gonna regulate myself, so I'm not like blowing the fuck up for too long or over fucking nothing at certain points. And then I'm gonna get myself back on track and find my peace. Because at the end of the day, my main goal is peace. So regardless of what emotion I'm feeling, my main goal, regardless of what I'm doing, is peace. So that also goes into like when you're starting to argue with people or when you're starting to like, you know what I'm saying, feel agitated or feel frustrated. If your main goal is the one thing that stays on your mind, then all those emotions will kind of like start setting on track towards that. So you're no longer frustrated at a situation or at the person. You're frustrated that it took you off your piece. So you'll try to bring your frustration back to like, hey, I'm trying to get back to like, let's fix this so we can get back to like, whatever the fuck it was. Or this nigga's pissing me off, so I'm gonna just walk the fuck away because I'm maintaining my peace. Whatever the fuck it is, like you start finding ways to kind of like de-stress your life. Like you'll figure out that what your energy should go to and what it doesn't need to go to. Like, oh, that motherfucker just yelling at me or he's looking at me weird. I don't give a fuck. His energy doesn't need to fuck with mine unless I give him the attention. You feel me? Like a lot of people will bring in stress, and then at the end of all the bullshit, you'll be like, yo, all that bullshit that just happened, you put yourself into it. Like if a motherfucker starts fighting in front of my house, nigga, I can either jump into that motherfucker and act like I was a part of that bitch, or I could just watch that shit rock or go inside so nothing happens to me, right? And then I effectively de-stress myself because whatever happens to them happens to them. It doesn't happen to me. I'm not in the scene now. You feel me? But you gotta like walk through life and like look at shit like that. Like if I'm in a line and the cashier wants to decide to give me an attitude because she's having a fucked up day or you know what I'm saying, something happened in her life that she wants to project onto me, I can either make it my issue and then argue with the bitch, or I can just be like, recognize that that's just her issue that she's trying to project onto me, and I'm gonna just buy my shit, smile at her ass or whatever the fuck, and then go on about my day. Like, or you could say something fucking snarky after you pay, like, you know what I'm saying? I hope you find peace, and then walk the fuck off if you really wanted to be petty. But at the end of the day, like, only give so much energy into something unless you want it to be your problem, unless you want it to be your stress. You feel me?
No, that's real.
That's the key to enlightenment. Is just like realizing what you need to give your energy to, being accountable for slipping off of your energy or slipping off of your main goal, and then just rocking back on it.
You right.
Like on everything. You know me, I'm transparent as fuck. Like you know me, I just told you straight up that like I like I mix my bike. I got a hybrid of blunts. Like my shit has blue lotus rose petals in it and shit like that. Not thinking about it, I was smoking with my wife and the homegirl came up and I just passed her the blunt and I think about it. You know what I'm saying? But I know how rude that is, so I took accountability for it. Like I apologize. I mean, and that's really all you can do, regardless of how people move forward with that information, how they decide to act. Like I was accountable for my actions. You know what I'm saying? The fuck up is a fuck up. But my thing is, I even said like next time if we ever want to smoke again, I would love in front of you. You feel me? So
I think that's
regardless of how you move in life, just move with transparency. Move like a god. Be accountable for yourself, and don't move in ego. And I feel like a lot of people hear that God shit and they move in ego. They feel like they're better than people. I'm a god. I'm a god. Well, if you're a god, so is he, or so is she, so is he. So that means you should fucking give everybody the same respect you're giving yourself instead of being an egotist about it. You feel me?
you very right.
But she understand. Understand the physical leads with ego. So, and we're locked down in a physical reality. So everything that people can grasp, touch, see, and smell, they feel like is real. And so anything that like has them that requires you to go inside or think outside of yourself or detach yourself from the physical, it's hard for people to grasp. The only time people grasp that shit is when wind hits them. You feel me?
Yeah.
But I mean, a
Yeah.
wind is something that you can only feel, and it carries smell. So you don't really smell wind. It just carries whatever smell. You know what I'm saying? So you don't smell wind. You only feel wind, but you still acknowledge it, even when it's still. You still acknowledge it.
I always acknowledge that air is there. Shit.
Of course, it keeps you alive. But I'm saying, like,
But you
the
can't feel
metaphysical shit that literally binds our reality together. People will literally dismiss because it's not something they can see, feel, taste, or smell. And it's like the exact same things that are holding you apart. I mean, holding you together and keeping you fucking from unraveling. You know what I'm saying? Is the exact same things you're dismissing. These microscopic, metaphysical type of things. Yeah.
we have everything.
Nah, shit.
Shit, well,
You realize all your elements are a part of you. You are a part of the earth, like one and the same. Shit starts making sense. Sound is light, light is matter, matter is everything. You know what I'm saying? Consciousness is like literally broken down into all those things. Frequency breaks down. I mean, form of sound, sound solidifies in the light, light solidifies.
it's my dog keep on jumping off stream. I'm gonna give him a little bit of time. Just talking about a few things, conversating, sharing a little bit of what we talk about on a daily basis. Good brother, very informational, very very informational, very informational. All right, well, since we got this little intermission, I got a couple of things I need to do, and we are going to be right back.